Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday evening, and I thought, given the circumstances that have come up this past week, I thought again it would be easier for all of us if I recorded my general impressions with what I have seen to this time, which is a little bit before 8:30 in the discussion this week, because there was a lot of similarity between what a lot of people posted and just a couple of things I want people to think about. And also, I'm going to make a point that's really could be even more important as we get later in the course. But I noticed last week when I put a video in, not only an announcement that went to everybody, but went into each person's discussion, that as of tonight, we have 6 viewers. That's it. That means that the majority of the class never saw the commentary or the instructions for the midterm or things like that. So please, you're missing things, and if anything changes, or if there is anything that I could call as a bit of advice or something for that particular week, that assignment, please watch them, okay? They are important. They're the easiest way for us to communicate and have us understand exactly what's going on. That being said, let me talk a little bit about the subject matter of this past week's uh, discussion board, where I asked simply, what's the economic value of a sports enterprise to a city? Is one there? As I said, most economists are split on it. And it looked like most people came down on the positive side, looking at what could be called economic development activities, could be causing sustained activity, at least in the neighborhood of the stadium. But the things I think a lot of people did notice also was the burdens that it can put on a community, the extra pressures it can put on an area, the infrastructure requirements, the very intricate financing that goes into a stadium. For instance, I think as of last reading that I know of, in the NFL, where there are 38 teams, 28 don't own their stadium. They rent it, generally from somebody like the city, the county, the state, all right, an agency thereof. These are important considerations. And the thought I'd like to leave a lot of people with tonight is really kind of simply, when you're considering this question, I'd suggest you go back and look at what you wrote and what you talked about with your classmates and try to look at the issue backwards. Flip the question, all right? And I'll take as an example 2 different cities. First, the obvious one for many of us, New York. Well, New York's got a lot in its metropolitan area. Let's take the sports teams: 2 baseball teams, right? 2 hockey teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 football teams, right? At the Apex League level. And my question to you is, even with those 6 teams, if any one of them were to go away, would New York notice? Outside of the outraged sports fan, would the economy of New York skip a beat? And even if half of them left, would the economy of New York skip a beat? Would it make a bit of difference? I'm going to postulate that the answer is no, or at best, it would be a blip. And the way I kind of would measure it is by looking at the combined value of all the industry, all the business, everything that goes on in that metropolis, and say, is sport really that much of a big part of it? Culturally, sure, it's a big part of it, but economically, it's pretty small compared to what else goes on in New York. But now let me take another city that I have some knowledge of and was talking to somebody who's recently visited there, Detroit. Detroit is a very depressed city. Detroit, not long ago, actually did something some has happened very rarely to some cities. Actually declared bankruptcy. Detroit was run not by Detroit, but by the state of Michigan for a while. Right? Detroit is hurting. The auto industry isn't what it used to be. Heavy industry, the type that was in the north and what we call the Rust Belt, isn't there anymore. And yet, Detroit has the Lions, the Tigers, the Pistons, the Red Wings. If they left, would Detroit know? Probably the answer is no. Would they do damage to Detroit by leaving? Not that much relative to all the other problems Detroit has. And by their presence, are they lifting Detroit up to where Detroit doesn't have to worry about anything? The answer is probably no. So the question I think becomes when somebody asks you this question, is a major sport enterprise an engine of economic development, or is it a burden? I think the answer would be that classic economist answer of it depends. It depends on the condition of the market, the general growth of the area, not necessarily what's just going on in sport. It is quite an intricate process and an intricate problem. So another question I might look at it, and I'm speaking to you from somebody who's here in central Connecticut. Hartford. Hartford, Connecticut has a AA baseball team. It is the Hartford Yardgoats. They are the AA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. They are one of the most successful business-wise, economically, minor league franchises in America right now. They generally sell out their stadium. They have a brand new stadium. It's less than 5 years old. When I say they sell it out, it's a 6,000 seat stadium. I believe they play 61 home games a year. So we're talking about 350, 360,000 people. Sell it out all the time. Popular evening attraction. City of Hartford also has in its environs, and it used to be called the Greater Hartford Open, in fact, but a major golf tournament, the Travelers Championship. Travelers Championship is played in the suburb of Cromwell at a tournament players course owned by the PGA. It is one of the best attended tour events, and it happens on one week in the summer. And that event draws almost as many people as the Hartford Yardgoats do, running from April to August. Which one do you think a city that's very depressed, very hurting economically, even though it's the capital city of Connecticut, which event is better for the city of Hartford? Having that 1 week of just tremendous attendance and influx of people and an influx of national attention, or an entire summer of, at best, regional attention, and regional being defined as a very narrow thing in AA baseball. All right, which is better for them? Which does more economically for the city of Hartford? That Yardgoats Stadium is supposed to be an engine of economic development. But if you look at the jobs at that stadium, are there a couple hundred jobs? Sure, but what are they? Minimum wage, part-time employment. They are secondary jobs. They are not breadwinners, to use an old-fashioned term. They're not the things that people are going to make a career of. Minor league baseball players certainly aren't going to raise the economic level of a community. If you look at the contrast between a minor league contract and a major league contract, it's night and day. Okay? So what I'm saying to you is this is a case where that consultant answer, that economist answer of it depends, really comes into play. What's the size of the market? What's the other economic conditions that market is going through? What are those conditions like? And then we can make a judgment based on that. So just wanted to deliver that message. Now, you're going to be moving into week 6. You're going to be moving into a discussion of college sports. What is the purpose of college sport? That is one I really, really want you to think about, do some digging, and don't, when you begin to write, don't write with your first impression. I've said it several times, just about every one of the last few videos I posted. Read before you write. Understand what your position is. Research it, and then come up with a well thought out answer. Because this is one area where I have found over the years so many misconceptions, it's almost head spinning. All right. So as we move into this discussion of what's the value of college sport, what's the purpose, keep an open mind and open a book. Okay? Please make sure you're watching these. This is where I get a lot of information out to you, and it makes it simpler for everyone to hear, just like we would do if we were in a classroom. Okay? Thanks, and have a wonderful last few hours of your weekend. Thank you.